Ladies and gentlemen, the world is indeed a strange place. Things keep happening which we never even thought of. War in Europe, 50 plus days, unthinkable, right? Russian cruiser, Moscow getting sunk. Germany vowing to give 2 billion euros to arm Ukraine. Who thought? OPEC Plus, still, despite tremendous pressure from West, did not increase daily oil production. In the meantime, Iraq sold $11 billion worth of oil in one day, 50 years high in their history. So, yes, a lot of things happening. China locking down its 20 million people in one province, saying COVID is coming back. However, I'm Solomon Shukun from Dhaka, Bangladesh. I'm going to give you a review of what's happening across the globe, primarily concentrating on my own country, Bangladesh. Ladies and gentlemen, Bangladesh is a fantastic example of development despite pandemic and war. But recently, I get to see a lot of hilarious comparison between Sri Lanka's financial crisis with Bangladesh. My first reaction is apple to apple. Bangladesh's economy is much larger than Sri Lanka. Bangladesh is one of the fastest growing economies and becoming $500 billion economy very soon. So when you compare something like Bangladesh with Sri Lanka, it's not logical. Now, yes, there are a lot of other indicators, but I'm going to bring some, major indicators and numbers. How Sri Lanka came to be what it is today. Sri Lanka's main earning source is tourism, remittance, tax. What happened in these three sectors? Tax. In 2019, during election campaign, Rajapaksa said, if you elect me, I will reduce your tax. Deep tax cut. That was nice in an election campaign, but in 2019, Sri Lanka was already very high in debt to GDP ratio. What it means? A country, what it produces, tradable product and service, and what it spends and borrows, debt to GDP ratio. Sri Lanka started spending more than it earned, and they needed more money. Tax was one of the sources, which the government cut, deep cut. So they started making less money. And then, in this island nation, tourism was big sector. Why I said was? Because in pandemic, across the globe, economies and countries which depended on tourism took a big hit. Sri Lanka took the hit too. But there was another additional factor. There was a bombing in Sri Lanka, which is commonly known as Easter bombing. Before that bombing, in Sri Lanka, in 1 year, 23 lakhs people, tourists, mostly from Europe, used to come. After the bombing, the number of tourists coming to Sri Lanka dropped to 1 point some lakhs. Almost 90% drop in tourism. Sri Lanka used to make 8 billion US dollar from tourism a year. But just within 1 year, in 2019, Sri Lanka just made less than 1.5 billion from tourism. Remittance, another source of Sri Lanka's earning, which also got hit by pandemic. Now, why people are comparing Bangladesh with Sri Lanka? I'm going to come back. Bangladesh makes most of its money from manufacturing RMG. Bangladesh is aiming to export $50 billion worth goods, mostly in Europe and North America. Bangladesh earns around $20 billion worth remittance from 10 million of its people working outside. They're sending money regularly. The curve is going upward. Bangladesh exported almost $5 billion worth goods in 1 month, whereas Sri Lanka's entire year's tourism earning was only $8 billion. Now what happened? When Sri Lanka was losing money, what did they do? They started borrowing more money from countries and agencies, and they needed to pay it back. They haven't had the dollar. There was another factor. Sri Lanka banned using pesticides, saying it's good for health. What happened? The following year, Sri Lanka's rice production dropped 50%. So they even needed to import rice, which is one of the main staple. Sri Lanka's default category decreased. Major investors left Sri Lanka. In Bangladesh, major investors coming. 30% more orders are coming to Bangladesh. Bangladesh's current foreign reserve is around 50 billion US dollar. Bangladesh's debt to GDP ratio is only 17%. Even World Bank saying Bangladesh did fantastic. The economy expanded despite COVID-19. Now, comparing something like Sri Lanka with Bangladesh economy, absolutely not logical. Why we are doing that? Why tag a country's name with another country's crisis and create a bad buzz about it? I mean, probably lack of information and there are other intentions. But I would request all Bangladeshis and people who are watching, ladies and gentlemen, when you are talking about Bangladesh, please remember you are talking about a country which is soon going to become $500 billion economy, which has 100% electrification, which has $5 to $6 billion every month export, which has major mega projects going on, which has great rating. Bangladesh never defaulted in the last couple of years. Even the funniest part, when Sri Lanka needed money, Sri Lanka went to its neighbors. Do you know which of the neighbors helped Sri Lanka first? Bangladesh. Bangladesh gave Sri Lanka 200 million US dollar, followed by India 500 million US dollar. So Bangladesh is actually helping Sri Lanka. Who helps another friend who is himself in trouble? No, who has surplus. So Bangladesh has money to support its neighbors. Coming back, my all the best wishes to Sri Lanka, but Bangladesh is not Sri Lanka. Bangladesh is an emerging tiger. Bangladesh is doing fantastic in terms of economic indicators. Yes, we have rooms for improvement, but flooding internet with Bangladesh Sri Lanka issue, not cool. So next time, if you compare something, make it apple to apple. Don't just jump in.